Today we will be flying from Lihue on the island of Kauai to Honolulu International Airport. Our aircraft today is the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The flight will take approximately 20 minutes and we will be flying at a cruising altitude of 6,000 feet. Welcome to the flight deck of the 787 Dreamliner. I will give a brief explanation of the displays and controls of the flight deck. At the top, we have the autopilot, which we will be using later in the flight. Below, we have duplicate displays, which allow both the captain and the first officer to monitor the status of the flight at all times. On the floor console, we have the flight management computer and the navigation radio. The two main displays will be used by both the captain and the first officer to monitor the status of the aircraft and the flight. The left display is known as the primary flight display. Here we can see that the aircraft is following the altitudes and speeds as displayed on the flight management computer. The second display is known as the multi-function display, and many screens can be selected to study all aspects of the aircraft. Here we are monitoring the flight path. The flight path is indicated by the magenta line. This display also shows the terrain below and the status of the engines, landing gear, and flap positions. Shown on the right is the flight management computer. The screen we have selected shows the altitudes and speeds of all legs of the flight. Any changes the captain makes will be immediately followed by the autopilot. Here are the yokes. These control the vertical angle of the aircraft during climb and descent. This is the throttle. The throttle controls the thrust of the engines. The flaps are set by this lever. The flaps provide extra lift for takeoff and later help reduce our speed during the descent stage. The aircraft is also equipped with a GPS display. Now we load the flight plan into the flight management computer. Once the flight plan is activated by the autopilot, the aircraft will automatically follow the path of the flight, the altitude of each leg in the flight, and also the speed throughout the entire flight. We now set our flaps to provide extra lift for takeoff and contact air traffic control for takeoff approval.
Lihue Tower, Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346 ready at runway 35, departing straight out. Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346 cleared for takeoff, runway 35, departing straight out, approved. Cleared for takeoff, runway 35, Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346.
On the rotate call from the first officer, we pull back on the yoke to obtain liftoff.
knots. V1, rotate. V2.
At this point, we retract the landing gear. Now that we have completed our initial climb, we reduce the throttle and retract the flaps.
Autopilot engaged. Navigation mode engaged. VNAV engaged.
The autopilot now forces the aircraft to follow the flight plan path, the altitude and speed for each leg. On the primary flight display, we can see the aircraft is turning to line up with the flight path shown as the magenta line. You can see that we are now almost lined up with the second leg of the flight plan, and our target speed is 250 knots, and our target altitude is 6,000 feet. We have now reached our target altitude of 6,000 feet. Since nothing will be changing for a while, you can return to your seat and watch an informative movie. We will call you back to the flight deck once we start our preparations for the descent. Welcome back. So, now that you know about the ILS signals, let's tune into our destination airport for weather conditions and select a runway with ILS.
Honolulu Airport information Kilo 0451 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky conditions no clouds below 20,000. Temperature 15. Dew point 5. Altimeter 2992. ILS runway 8 left. And visual runway 8 right in use. Landing and departing runway 4 right. VFR aircraft stay direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you have Kilo. Honolulu Tower, Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 3462 1 miles west with Lima to land.
Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346, Honolulu Tower, entered right traffic, runway 26, altimeter 2992.
Honolulu Tower, can Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346 get runway 8 left?
Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346, Honolulu Tower, approach. Runway 8 left, altimeter 29er 2.
Runway 8 left, Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346.
We now tune our navigation radio to the frequency of the ILS signals for runway 8 left. As you can see, we are now descending to a target altitude of 2,200 feet, which is an ideal altitude to intercept the glide slope signal. We have now reached our target altitude of 2,200 feet and are approaching the final leg in the flight. This is the last turn that we will make using the autopilot in the flight plan or LNAV mode.
Localizer is alive.
Notice from the localizer indicator that we are almost lined up with the runway. We now set the altitude manually to 2,200 feet. We enable approach mode, so the aircraft will now follow the glide slope and localizer signals, and we turn off the flight management computer.
Glide slope is aligned.
The captain is now using the HUD, or heads-up display. This allows him to study the speed of the aircraft during final descent and the statuses of the localizer and glide scope indicators without taking his eyes off the runway.
Glide slope captured.
We have now captured the glide slope and will automatically follow it down to the runway at a 3-degree angle.
Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346. Cleared to land. Runway 8 left.
We now extend our landing gear and extend our flaps.
Cleared to land. Runway 8 left, Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346.
Landing and taxi lights on, please.
Notice the Land 3 indicator. This means the aircraft will be making a full auto land. The speeds will be automatically controlled, and just before touchdown, the engines will be set to idle. The aircraft will then perform a flare, meaning the nose will rise, allowing the aircraft to glide gently down to the runway. Once the wheels touch the runway, the spoilers will activate to add drag and hold the aircraft firmly down on the runway. The engines will engage reverse thrust, the most powerful part of the braking system. The auto brakes will be applied, and the aircraft will continue to be guided down the centerline by the autopilot until reaching a full stop.
Honolulu ground, Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346, request taxi to STEM. Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346, taxi to stand 33, using taxiway Bravo Golf Zulu. Taxiing to stand 33, using taxiway Bravo Golf Zulu. Hawaiian Hotel Alpha 346.
We will be taxiing for a few minutes. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened and all carry-on items stowed until the seatbelt sign has been turned off. You may not use your cell phones or other electronic devices until you have reached the gate. Before leaving, make sure you have all of your personal belongings. Use caution when opening the overhead bins, as items may have shifted during the flight. Check the monitors inside the terminal for connecting gate information. This is your final destination. You will pick up checked baggage in the baggage claim area. On behalf of all of us, thank you for flying with us today. We truly appreciate your business and look forward to serving you on a future flight.